Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today on the Quintessential Queens podcast, where queens and kings come to be celebrated, elevated, sometimes vindicated, but always educated. Thank you all for joining me on this Sunday afternoon or evening, whichever words you choose to use at this time. I want you all to welcome a very special king here today. I have Mr. Javid L. Jenkins here
Yes.
with me
Yes.
today. Javid is the author of a wonderful book called Illegitimate, Redefining the Outcome. See if we can make sure that's seen. Illegitimate,
That's it.
redefining the outcome. And then he's going to tell us how you can get this book. But I'm going to tell you a few things about my guest here, Mr. Javid L. Jenkins.
Yes.
I'm going to read your bio,
Please
Javid.
do.
Javid L. Jenkins, defined by resilience, faith, and a relentless drive to turn adversity into triumph. As the author of Illegitimate, Redefining the Outcome, he shares his extraordinary journey of overcoming abuse and rejection to rise as one of Chicago's most influential business leaders in the fitness industry. And I will also let you know, Javid, can I call you Javid?
Yes, you can.
Javid. Javid is a father, husband, and businessman.
In that order.
In that order. He's also an insurance director for supplemental healthcare insurance.
Mhm.
Also, landscaping. This is a man of many talents here. Health and wellness, which includes fitness.
Yes, it does.
And then Arthur rolls right down or right up the list
Hmm.
on your many list of talents and gifts and skill. So we'll roll right into telling us about Illegitimate. First, if you all notice when you get the book, because of course you're going to do that, the IL is falling off
Exactly.
and you see legitimate to the point where I was like, oh, the book is called Legitimate. No, Illegitimate. The IL is falling off. Go ahead and tell us about this book, Javid. We want to know.
So, thank you, Dee, for having me on your show. I am honored to be here. As I look around, I see all of the different people that have come to this station, not just for your show, but other shows. And it is an honor to sit in this space and share with you today. Illegitimate is my memoir. It is the writing that God put into my heart years and years ago, but I had to grow into the person that could deliver it. It tells my story from my mother's birth to my conception, all the way up to my marriage and my children and my businesses, and how I have tried to redefine my outcome and not allow the label of being illegitimate to stick to me and determine who I am. That's the book. And in that book, it gives lessons on resilience, lessons on understanding, forgiving yourself, how to not allow your past to define your future. But most importantly, it tells you how to get over some things that have been trying to destroy you since you were born.
Trying to destroy you since you were born.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you brought up your mom because you talk about your mom a lot in this book.
I do.
And there's a connection, there's the circle
Yes.
connection from how your mom was raised, her journey and her
Mhm.
story till your conception.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
So when my mother was born in 1941 here in Chicago. Um, my mother was the product of an assault. Her mother was 16 years old. So at that time, because there was no father, no husband, my grandmother was sent to a place called Dixon State Hospital. Dixon State Hospital was a place for what they called the feeble-minded and epileptic. So it's basically an insane asylum. And they sent this 16-year-old black girl there to have a baby in June. For what? Why? Because there was no place to do that here in the city. It was a place to hide this shame situation.
And what
And
was the shame situation?
oh, she was young. She was black. She had no husband. There was an assault. No one knew who that man was who did that. And if they did, they didn't say. So instead of going to the local hospital or going to church and talking to the people and finding out where we could go to take care of this young girl, she was shipped away. We don't want to see you. We don't want people to see this shame. And when my mother was born, they stamped the word illegitimate on her birth certificate, to the point that it was a big problem for my mother. She didn't like seeing that on her birth certificate. She never wanted anyone to see the word illegitimate stamped on her birth certificate.
So she was like scarlet lettered.
Exactly. To the point where whenever she was done with her birth certificate, whether it was for a job or anything like that, she would tear it up. When I started being her caregiver, I couldn't find her birth certificate. It was nowhere to be found. She had torn it up and thrown it away. So I had to search it out, and I had to go all the way to Dixon, Illinois, to find a copy of her birth certificate. And once I got it, I saw for myself illegitimate stamped on her birth certificate.
See, I like that you've paid attention to your mom's story.
Absolutely.
Because it'll tell you a lot about who she is and
Absolutely.
maybe even some of the decisions she made. And a lot of people don't do that.
Mhm.
They don't try to understand where their parents came from. And you did that. And it rolled right into
To who
your
I am.
conception.
Yes, absolutely.
So fast forward there. You're conceived. And
Mhm.
give us the surroundings of all of that. Give us the
So-
surroundings of your mom and dad meeting, and they made wonderful you.
Listen. So mom being born illegitimate was a shame to her. She didn't like it either. And she wanted to make sure that never happened to any of her children, to the point that she married a gentleman by the name of Gerald Jenkins. And in marrying Gerald, it was for the sole purposes of finding love and making sure if she had any children, they wouldn't be illegitimate. Gerald wasn't the best for her. Gerald had his own thing going on outside of Chicago. And that was a heartbreaking situation for her, to the point where she had to go back home, find herself back living in her mother's home, her adopted mother's home. And she had to start rebuilding her life. In those moments of brokenness, in that moment of pain and sadness, is when she and my dad connected. She was vulnerable. She was sad. She needed someone to just lay her head on. And my father showed up with sweet words, smooth skin,
Smooth words.
tall frame. I mean, I tell people all the time, my daddy will talk you into everything he wants you to do and out of everything you don't want to do. Even at this age, he is still smooth as silk. You understand?
Look at that, smooth
Listen,
as silk. Just what a woman needs.
I am telling you.
Smooth words, good looking, tall.
I post pictures of my daddy to this day, and people's like, "Oh, he is fine." I'm like, "Okay, y'all, he's up now." But my dad is, he shows up and he talked to her and basically convinced her to have a night with him, and they did, and that was how I became conceived. There's a lot in the book about that story and how it went down and all of the dynamics that were connected to that, including the fact that he was already married. He had a wife and a whole family. So this was a situation that was also shameful, but now here is Alice, home from France, because her first husband was military. First marriage failed. Now all of a sudden she's pregnant by the married guy from across town. A lot of shame is involved in this.
And Alice is your mom's name.
Yes, Alice is my mother's name. Here she comes, broken marriage, 3 sons, single mother. Now she's pregnant by a married man. Here's this illegitimate baby. The B word. They use that word. How do we overcome that? How do we fix this so that the community, the church, won't look negatively on us? Just 8 years ago, 10 years ago, Alice, you were standing in front of the church with a beautiful wedding. This army man was marrying you, and you had a beautiful gown, and the whole community came out to support you because, yay, Alice got she got the storybook ending. Now here we are, broken marriage, illegitimate child on the way. How do we fix this?
So now this child we're talking about is you.
That's me.
You were saying that your mother went through some painstaking or structural things to hide you, as
Absolutely.
you were saying, to hide you. Tell us about that, the hiding you part of this and where it led you.
My name is the first step in my mother trying to hide me from the stigma of being illegitimate. My father's name is Jackson. His name is Leroy Jackson. My name is David Jenkins. Jenkins is the name of my mother's first husband. Mom did not want her son's name in print. And people see those names: Alice Jenkins, Julius Jenkins, Jonathan Jenkins, Jock Jenkins, David Jackson. Immediately, it would cause a in her mind. The best way to protect me from the stigma of being illegitimate was to just make sure I had the same last name as everyone else. A misguided step, but it was her way of protecting me. It was her way of putting me in a position.
Protecting you.
Absolutely. She didn't want anyone to ever open up a book, open up a program, or go to a school and say Jenkins Jackson, because that was a clear indication that we had different fathers. She didn't want anyone to know. She wanted everybody to see her and her sons as one.
So in her mind, this was all a very shameful thing.
Absolutely.
This was a shameful thing because we're talking, she was born in 1941. So
Yes.
we're talking very mid 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we are more liberal in 2025, that stigma really hasn't left as much, but no one is really shamed for it too much.
Now, in this day and age, the term conservative is normally connected to racism in certain community. But back in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s, my mother was born and raised in a very much conservative neighborhood, Black conservative neighborhood. And it wasn't the conservative neighborhood that you would think of now. It is the upright, upstanding, decency and order, prim, proper, way of living. When I was growing up, my mother's adopted mother, my grandmother, you'll see her, she's written in there because she was a very pivotal part of my life as well. She was very big on manners. Don't eat with your elbows on the table. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Take your hat off when you're with a woman. She would probably knock me over the head if she saw me with this hat on in this room.
So it's a different time, Grandma.
So
we advertising.
She was very big on culture, presenting yourself properly. All of these things was what my grandmother was.
And what's your grandmother's name?
Her name was Savalia Roberts.
Savalia. Okay, so we got Grandma Savalia,
Alice,
Mama Alice,
mm-hmm.
And then here we are, David Jenkins,
son,
David L. Jenkins,
David L. Jenkins, yes.
Son, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You were, like you said, first of all, it's a lot of women that just give their children their last name to keep that.
Absolutely.
To keep that cohesiveness of family.
Sure.
And I'm cool with it either way. Mm-hmm. I completely understand it if that's something you want to do. And as opposed to, like you were saying,
mm-hmm.
if a different name than yours, or your siblings have a different dad, so all of you all have these different names. Either way, it's fine. Okay, I don't want no letters. Either way, it's fine. But
I want your listeners to imagine 1960s Chicago.
Yes.
I want them to imagine the church, the African American church, where we are striving to be, in this day and age, as close to them as we can. We want to present the same type of picture: cohesion, connection, family, marriage, education, prim, proper. We're trying to integrate at this time, and we can't have anything that looks like it's not that way.
That it's not perfect.
Not perfect. Everything's got to be perfect, and that was the way my grandmother was raising her children. Right. Everything: how to be a mother, how to be a wife, how to be a good church member, how to be a good community person.
Yes.
And when we step out dressed to the nines. We don't let our slips show. This is how we do.
That's right.
Gloves. We want hats. We want, all of this. This is how grandma was.
And a lot of us were raised with that.
We were raised that way.
You dress to the nines when
absolutely.
Anytime, if you're going to the corner store,
don't you step out of this house wearing no sweatpants,
wearing nothing, just anything.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's how I was raised.
And that's what we're raised in. And then here comes mom with a divorce, pregnant with a married man's child.
Ooh, that was
exactly
that, especially back then.
Yes, and in this day and age, a lot of people are like, it's okay. No, you got to understand the stress mom was under, trying to find a way to get back or come back to her community with a broken marriage. And back then, it wasn't what did he do wrong. It was what did you do wrong not to keep him
It's
because
still like
it
that.
was her job to make sure her husband stayed home.
I
It,
find it still that way, that
yeah.
this society, this world globally
Hmm.
blame women for any pitfall, and that women are held at this unrealistic
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
And when it goes wrong,
It's always
immediately
her
it's
fault.
your fault. It's
And
immediately her fault.
for legal purposes, I couldn't go into depth of why
Sure.
why he left and how she got away from him. However, just know that she wasn't his only one. Let's put it that way. And he
She
found,
wasn't his only
and
one.
she found out about it, and it's in the book.
It's in the
It's
book.
in
Well,
the book.
don't tell them everything. You gotta want to pick
Look,
this up.
look,
You have to want to pick this book up after hearing all of the synopsis that
listen.
David is giving us.
Mom found out that man was doing wrong, and she got him sent to Vietnam. She did. She got him sent to Vietnam. She went to see his CO, and she was like, "Look, get me out of here now. Get me out of here now. This is what he's doing. This is the way he's doing it at.
Oh my
I don't want to be
goodness.
around this." And she was on the next plane smoking back to America, and he was on the next plane smoking to Vietnam.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, because they
Ain't
didn't
that
play that in the
something?
Army. They didn't play
Well,
that.
you know what, the women always find a
They
way.
didn't play
Not
that.
that men don't, but definitely we will
Mm-mm.
find a way. We'll find a way to overcome
Absolutely.
whatever we feel is pulling us down,
Absolutely.
weighing us down. So then fast forward, you're
Mhm.
here,
Here I am.
you're growing up here, and you talk about overcoming abuse and turning it into triumph, as your hat is saying.
Yeah.
Write truth, heal pain, change lives.
That's right.
So, and you started with yourself.
So we got to put a pin in the abuse part,
Sure.
because that is a big part of this book. This whole work is my personal therapy session of overcoming the abuse. The abuse was suffered at the hands of my brothers. My brothers, they were all three different levels of abuse towards me. It is, to this day, it is still hard for me to talk about a lot of it, because I had to relive a lot of moments when writing this. And I still feel like sometimes I represented the reason why, to them, I represented the reason why their mother and father didn't make it.
That was something you put on yourself, you're saying.
Yes. I felt like, especially my brother, who I was the closest in age to, Jacques, I kind of felt like he treated me this way because he blamed me for his parents not making it, his mother and his father not making it, because here I come, when I didn't have anything to do with that. He misplaced his aggression, I think. However, I had to suffer under that. You know, I try to tell people, just read the book. It'll tell you, chapter 3, the monsters will tell you everything I went through with them. I don't hold any punches. I don't hold anything back. There is nothing off limits. I tell the exact whole raw, honest truth about how my brothers abused me, whether it was physically, mentally, or sexually. And I had to overcome all of that. I had to not let that stick to me. And I know that we hear a lot of stories of how someone was an abuser because they were abused. I worked diligently to make sure that didn't live past me, whether it's through my younger cousins or my children.
Were you worried about that stigma? Like, oh, if you've been abused, you're going to abuse.
Well, you hear growing up, you see on the news and TV, this person did this, and they find out, well, he had a pattern of abuse as a child. So naturally, you're afraid that that's in your hands. It came into my life, and I'm afraid that it's going to come out of my hands to someone else. You're afraid of that. So you have to work diligently to make sure that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I am overly protective to people that I love, because I don't ever want to look back one day and they say, yeah, he did this, he did that, something inappropriate. I am overly protective. I'm overly guarded, and it filters into how I parent, because I'm a helicopter parent, to the point where I got to make sure I trust you around my kids, and I don't trust nobody around my kids, And so I'm very, very guarded on that, because I want to make sure that when my last day comes, nobody will ever be able to look back and say, yeah, he did something to me.
And you don't want any of that type of trauma for your children. You don't want
Absolutely
what happened to
not.
you to happen
I
to
would
them.
stand in front of a train before I let that happen to them. Absolutely not. I mean, the whole point of this book and me freeing myself from the past was so that I could be a better husband and a better father, but more importantly, so that I can give them a legacy, a name that they can be proud
A
of.
name that they can be proud of.
Absolutely. I want my children to be able to say, when they hear the name Jenkins, that it's not attached to my brothers or their father or my mother's decision to use this name to hide me. This name starts and ends with me.
When did you become proud of your name, the Jenkins name, David L. Jenkins? When did you become proud of that name? Because you shared with me when we talked
Mhm.
before that there was some shame there. Even though
Absolutely.
your mother chose the name to
Absolutely.
just make sure that the whole family got the same name,
Mhm.
there was some shame there. A lot of shame surrounding the trauma, the abuse, how you came into the world, and the abuse you suffered at the hands of your brothers.
Absolutely.
When did you become proud of David L. Jenkins?
I think I told you the moment I was really proud of my name was when I finished this. That was the moment I was really proud of who I am, because I finished this book. But that process started happening over a course of years. If you talk to anyone from the neighborhood that I grew up in, 95th and Princeton, um, from the 60s till about the mid to late 90s, that name Jenkins carried with it a lot of negative. It carried with it guys who commit assault, guys who are drug addicts, guys who have anger issues. It carries with it a woman who had a broken marriage, a woman who had an affair with a married man. It carried with all of that came with it. Um, there was a story I tell in the book. I went to school and I got in the classroom and the teacher was reading the roll, and she got to my name and she says, "Jenkins, are you related to Jacques Jenkins?" I said, "Yeah, that's my brother." The teacher says, "Okay, you come sit right here." Literally, just off the name, she decided I was a problem.
And where did she put you? In front?
Right next to her desk. First day of school, I hadn't even done anything, but based off of the name alone, she knew Julius Jenkins was a problem for me. John Jenkins was a problem. Jock Jenkins was a problem. This is the little one. This is the next one. He's a problem too. Sit right here.
So she already
She had
has
already
your
predetermined.
path set up for you,
She
predetermined how you're going to
already
behave.
defined my outcome by my name.
And your book says redefining the outcome.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. Let's
Okay.
talk about how you overcame these obstacles and getting rid of the negativity
hmm
and projecting all of the wonderful
Absolutely.
results and
Absolutely.
great work and human being that is you.
That's the part I love about this, because um, I that hurt me when the teacher put me next to her, and every single thing that I did, it was always like, I didn't do anything. Why
I
y'all?
didn't do
Why am I getting
nothing.
punished for stuff that I didn't do? So I started taking different steps. As a child, even though I probably didn't know that I was doing this, but I was just trying to do different from them. I didn't want to be like them. So I put myself in a position where, well, if he did this, I'm gonna do that. My mother used to always say, "You may not know what you want to do in life, but you know what you don't want to do." And I knew I didn't want to do that. So if my brothers were doing one thing, I would pick the opposite. Okay. So I knew that with football, none of them really excelled at football. Jacques excelled at football to a point where he got some stuff going on, but he was the only one. I knew I wanted to do better than that, so I pushed harder in football. I went into ministry because none of them ever did anything in church. I found myself in ministry, but there's a whole story about how I found myself to ministry.
And that's in your bio too. That
It is
how you were you 17? You answered
17.
the calling
Yep.
and started a ministry,
hmm
and this is all part of overcoming and redefining your outcome.
Just trying my best to not walk in their steps, trying not to be like them. And it got to the point where eventually the neighborhood noticed the difference. The people
Okay.
around us started noticing a difference.
They notice your light.
Yeah, they noticed
noticed
that,
your light.
that there is something different. But it took time. It took time. It took a moment for me to not be judged because of them and start being seen because of me.
Because of who you are. Tell
Right.
me about the footprints you're making on your own.
Mm.
You were walking, just trying not to walk in their steps.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the steps you made on your own.
You know, one of my friends asked me the other day, he was like, how are you the last man standing? You know, because all of those, my brothers on my mother's side have passed away. I'm the only one left. And I told him, I'm the last man standing because I'm built differently than them. I'm not, I wasn't created to wreak havoc on this earth. I do believe that God will create certain individuals to bring havoc. I mean, the devil was created by God. He brings havoc, you know, and unfortunately, there are certain people on this earth that will be used by demonic forces to bring havoc. And I'm not that guy. I wasn't
You're
created that
not
way.
that guy.
So
You're not that
every
guy.
single step has to be built or made to not bring havoc. I believe that my journey here, my purpose for being on this earth is to make people better. No matter what I do in my life, D, if I'm doing it with the purpose of making people better, it's going to be successful.
Oh, I love that quote. Let that resonate.
Hmm.
No matter what you do in your life,
No matter what,
do it to help and make
people better.
people better.
And that's been who I am. If anybody you talk to, go back until I was age 18, 17, 18, they will tell you he was always trying to help somebody, always trying to fix something, always trying to make people better. And it became part of my ministry, which is why my ministry was moderately successful, because I was doing something to make people better, which is why the gym, when I opened the gym, did so well, because I was doing something to make people better. Which is why when I write this book or these books, it's doing something to make people better. Every single time I tried to get into a business or an opportunity that wasn't designed or fixated or pointed towards helping people, it didn't work
Mm.
every time. But every time I did something that was designed to help fix and help and make people better, it works.
So that's a wonderful legacy
Hmm.
to live into and to leave behind
Absolutely.
for yourself and your children.
Yes.
And Father's Day, this is the month that we
Yes, it
celebrate
is.
our fathers. And you described yourself father,
Hmm.
husband, businessman.
Hmm.
So you're leaving this legacy about helping others and
Yes.
moving towards God's purpose for you, which is service to other human beings.
Absolutely.
Part of this is you meet a wonderful woman,
Hmm.
you get a wonderful family. You got to tell me about your wonderful family, your wife
Ah.
Wendy,
Uh-huh.
your children Eleanor,
Hmm. Elhannon.
Elhannon, Elliot, Ariana, Alanis, Jordan.
Hmm.
You all have 6 children
Six.
together.
Six in total.
So that this is important to you, husband and father.
Hmm.
Tell me about that.
Um, my that's my core. I didn't have a father growing up. My dad was in and out. I had to model myself off of men in the church. You know, when I saw fathers in the church, I knew that when I became a father, that I wanted to be for my kids what I didn't have for myself. I knew that to my core. I knew that I wanted my children to always be able to wake up and know where daddy is, because I didn't have that. You know, growing up, there were times where I didn't know where my father was. He was either on a truck or living over here, living over there. I didn't know. And my mother used to make this joke: never put your father's phone number in your phone book in ink, because it always changes.
Wow.
Uh, I I never want to be in a position where my children don't know where I am. I want to be able to know that my kids, at a drop of a hat, I'm there. Um,
So that's part of what you're going to do a little differently. You gave a lot of that. You want
mhm,
them to always know where you are. You want to be there.
absolutely.
Um, as a father, and we're celebrating fathers.
Hmm.
What else are you doing differently with your family? And then you got to tell me about wonderful Wendy.
Absolutely. So I'm a present dad. I do the things that I do. I just try to make sure that my kids are provided for, that they're loved, and that they're supported. I watch them, everything that they do, their art, their grades, their hobbies. I try to be there and make sure that they see me engaged and know that I'm connected and value what they do. And then if it's something that I can help with, I want to try to help as best I can to help instill knowledge in them and show them ways that they can be better at what they're doing. Um, so that's how I put myself in a position to uh, be better for them. Now, as far as my wife is concerned, I could not have asked for a better partner in life, in love, in legacy. It is important uh, who you have children with.
Hmm.
It is very important who you have children with because you guys have to be on the same page about how to raise them, how to love them, how to nurture them, and how to guide and direct them. We never fight about the direction of these kids because both of us want them to succeed and have every opportunity to be as best as they can. So we don't fight about that. We don't fight about anything really. It's just kind of like, hey, here we are, 22 years married, and we're just pushing to grow this family and leave a legacy. So she is my best friend. She is my oldest friend. She is the reason why this book happened because up until chapter 9 in this book, there was havoc and turmoil in my life. Everything was, I couldn't get anything right. I was doing stuff, it was working, but it wasn't right. And it wasn't until she and I got together that things started working better. Um,
So you met wonderful Wendy
mhm.
in the midst of a chaotic life.
I was in a tornado when she and I connected. Now we met, we knew each other when we were kids, but we reconnected later in life in our 20s in 1998.
And the way you're telling
Hmm.
this story, it seems as if she calmed the roaring seas when
She
she
did.
showed up.
She did. I love that you put that way because I always tell people, like, I've got this just under the surface. I try not to be them, and I'm a calm, I'm a loving person, but just under the surface, there's this raging monster that's just
Mm.
just one bad moment away from tipping. Um, she keeps that at bay.
She keeps that
She
at
keeps it
bay.
at bay. Every single time I'm right there at the edge, ready to explode. She just has the ability to just
Calm the roaring
calm the
seas.
roaring sea.
I love
Absolutely,
to hear, a
absolutely.
man or a husband
Hmm.
speak so highly of their wife, your life partner.
Listen, let me tell you something about my Wendy. I I may be this oak, this strong oak, unshakable, unflappable, but she's the leaves on this tree. She provides the shade. She provides the connection to the sun. Because if a tree doesn't have leaves, it has no connection to the sun and the roots will die. That's her. She provides all of that. I can feel the sun because of her. And my roots stay strong because of her. She's not poisoning my roots. She's not trying to cause me to fall. She wants me to grow and reach as high as possible. And the only way I can do that is if she provides the shade, the covering, the leaves reaching to the sun, and that's who she is. That's what she does for me. And we just had a situation the other day. I'll share this. She will get my back even when I don't know she's doing it.
Mm.
I'm out working in the yard and I posted something and somebody said something and she came in like a roaring lion and was like, back up. I didn't ask her to. She just did that because she recognized that thing was something I was vulnerable about. And she wasn't gonna let nobody get my back. She wasn't nobody hurt me.
She got your six. That's
Absolutely.
what I call it. I
We
got your
face we
six.
face the world. Our marriage is back to back against the world, never face to face against each other.
Say that one more time,
We are back
please.
to back against the world, never face to face against each other. I'm going
I can shake your hand
I'm
on
going to
that.
throw I'm going to throw my punches. I'm going to protect my wife, my kids. I'm going to protect. But I
Yes.
also know that if my shield is down, I ain't got to worry about nothing getting me.
David, David,
That's okay.
I just love it. I could just sit here and listen to
I know
you all day. I just could. So what do you want our audience to go away with before you tell us?
Mhm.
Tell us how they can get illegitimate, redefining the outcome. How can our watchers get this book?
Absolutely.
Because you can't have this one. This one is mine
That's hers.
that David has given to me,
Uh-huh.
and he's gonna sign it and
Yep.
autograph it. This is my book. How can our viewers get their own book
They can go
on
to
copying?
www.javidljenkins.com. JAVID, the letter L, JENKINS.com. It's my website. It's right at the top. Click, you can purchase it. It'll take you right to Amazon. You order it, you'll have it in like 2 or 3 days.
And give us the name of this book again.
Illegitimate. But there is also a companion journal that comes with that.
Tell us about
The companion journal is a short journal designed for you to start writing your own story, for you to start getting through with your own issues. There's some prompts in there. There's some questions in there, some things that are directly related to you identifying some things that may be holding you back. So is my way of showing you how to get started on your own healing journey. So it's a companion journal. It's only like $8. So the book is there, the companion journal is there, and you can go right there and get it. You'll have it in a couple of days, and I'll be at the Woodson Library this Thursday, the 12th.
Where's the Woodson Library?
95th and Halstead.
You'll be there on the 12th?
I'll be there
promoting your book?
Yes, there's a author's book fair, and I'll be there promoting the book and signing the book. And if you got a book and it's not signed yet, bring it and I'll sign it.
Tell me. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I always think that too. Let me bring the book, but maybe I'll buy a book too, and you sign it. Tell me what you want this audience to go away with. What do you want them to leave this interview with? Maybe when they read your book, what is it you want them to learn and take with them?
The most important thing that I want people to take away from this is that you are not a mistake. You were put here for a purpose and a reason, and I need you to find what your reason is, find what your purpose is, and grow in it. Grow in it. Become better. One of my next book that's coming out is called Getting Better. The name of my gym was Getting Better Fitness. My next book is called Getting Better. Better is an acronym that God gave me years ago, and I've been living by that acronym since then, over 20 years now. And it means breaking every tie that endangers reality.
Better.
Breaking every tie that endangers reality.
Breaking every tie that endangers reality.
I need everyone, whether you read this book, my next book, or anything that I write after that, I need you to get better. That was the name of my gym, Getting Better. The name of my life. On my headstone, I told my wife it should say Getting Better. He wanted people to get better. Break those ties, because anything that's endangering your reality, it doesn't need to be connected to you.
And you were telling me, especially during mental health month, whom you wanted to encourage, fathers and sons, to face certain things. Tell me about that.
Unfortunately, men lots of times suffer in silence. And it's not because we are told to. It's because a lot of men feel like they are not able to be vulnerable. A lot of men are afraid to be vulnerable for fear it being used against them. A lot of men don't want to be vulnerable because they want to create this persona of an unflappable individual. Now, I'm not telling fellas to go out and write books and tell their own story and or get out here and put all their business in the street like I did. But what I am saying is you need to at least talk to someone, find yourself a mental health professional, and discuss some things. Yeah, something happened to you when you was a kid. It may not have been what happened to me, but we've all had something happen to us that creates this man who we are today. And those things that we're repressing and pushing down generally come out under pressure, whether it's lack of finances and all of a sudden something comes out. Children are acting a certain way, then something comes out. Our spouse isn't responding the way we want them to, then something comes out. When that something comes out, that's because there's some unresolved traumas in your life that you haven't dealt with. They're character flaws. Don't put that stuff on your zodiac sign. Don't put it on the fact that no. You got some stuff in here that you got to get dealt with. And I need you, brothers, to go and sit down and talk to somebody. Be vulnerable enough to go talk to somebody. Take the time to go and find the right person to talk to so that you can get this stuff out.
You said face those quiet moments.
Face them.
Those things you don't talk about.
You don't talk about.
I think that's an excellent quote. Face those quiet moments so you can learn to resolve the things that you're not talking about. So you said you're going to be at the Woodson Library
Library this coming Thursday, June 12th.
And you're promoting this wonderful book.
Yes.
And you're writing another book called Getting Better. That's going to be coming out. So look for that too. But in the meantime, this book is already out. Illegitimate.
It is on my website. www.javidljenkins.com. It is on Amazon. It is available for purchase right now. It's only $25. You buy it. It gets to your house in about 2-3 days. And if you ever see me, I'll sign it for you.
You sign it.
Absolutely.
And those of you who are techies, you said it's an ebook as well.
It is an ebook format available as well. And we're working on an audio book now. That's a whole nother journey, but we're trying to get that done too before the year is out.
Okay. So, Javid,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
For being my
you.
guest here today on the Quintessential Queens.
Thank
you
you.
all right here on IntellectualRadio.com, where we have something for everyone. We're on 24 hours. There's a show for everybody. Anything you want to see is here. Anything you want to talk about is here. Javid, thank you so much. Don't let this be the last time you come and visit us here.
I won't. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being such a wonderful interview.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody, you know me, Speaking with Dee on all of my social media platforms. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit me in my inbox. If you got something you want to talk about, go ahead and post it. I'm here. I'm waiting. Thank you for joining me here on the Quintessential Queens, right here on IntellectualRadio.com. I'll see you all later.